Trackwrestling.com. It is the home of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club Showdown Open. We'll have it again right here, Trackwrestling.com, Sunday, November 1st. And one of the guys on the card who joins us now from Iowa City, Spencer Lee, multiple-time world champion, two-time NCAA champion, Big Ten champion, 2020 Hodge Trophy winner, and, of course, the Sullivan Award winner. And you and I did something for Big Ten Network I want to point out real quick. I had all that stuff listed, including the Sullivan Award, but I didn't say it. And Tom Brands came out and said, hey, he's the Sullivan Award winner as well. So I wanted to make sure I got that mentioned in this interview. And you, Kyle Snyder, John Smith, the only to win that award. Of all those accolades, Spencer, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I know they're all meaningful in their own way, but what's the one that you're most proud of? What one means the most?
I mean, I really don't know. I just think all of it's just a attribution, to like my hard work and everything else. So, I mean, the Sullivan was one that I didn't expect to win. So like when I was on the call and they were talking about it, they announced Sabrina Nusfew to win. I was like, all right, that makes sense. She's a beast, right? And then all of a sudden, like, oh, we have a co-winner. And I'm like, all right, which of the Olympic champions are they going to choose, And they said my name, and they have, like, a reaction thing of me. Like, I was, like, mouth open, like, why me? Because in my mind, even when I spoke before they announced it, I was like, I think that one day I'll win this award in my mind. But right now, I don't think I deserve it because the other, I think it's I'm the fifth. I think I'm the fifth wrestler. The other four were all Olympic champions, and I haven't done that yet. So in my head, I was like, I don't really think I deserve that. So I would say, like, that one kind of, just because it's something that I didn't expect. Whereas, like, the Hodge and, NCAA's, when you go undefeated and, pin and tech almost everyone. I mean, and no one else did that. It's kind of hard not to pick you for the Hodge, even though we didn't have a national tournament, so we don't know what could have happened, right? But, and then NCAA's, you win NCAA's, it's kind of like, in your mind, you're like, you got to believe in it. But that was an award that I didn't expect, so.
When you win those awards, they bring you out in front of everybody at Kinnick Stadium. What kind of rush is that like?
I mean, it's loud, so I just have to – and they made me speak last time too, which is kind of fun. They asked me, like, how's the team going to do next year? And I said we were going to be 2020 team NCAA champions. And obviously that didn't happen, but, we're planning on doing that the next 2 years that I'm here at least.
When I talk to guys like you, Spencer, having kids of my own that are in youth sports, I'm fascinated by how you get to this level with good perspective and the success. I've talked to your dad, Larry, a couple of times, and I listen when he speaks. It's been nothing overly in-depth, but I definitely pay attention from your lens, and you're right in it, so maybe it's tough to tell. But as you get older, what are a couple of things that you especially appreciate, like, man, they did that right? I never realized it when I was 9, but they did that right. Anything come to mind?
Just the positivity, because I was always very negative on myself. So even if I scored 500 takedowns on someone and they scored 2, to me it was like a lost practice when I was younger. And my dad was always like, hey, just don't get upset. Just use the anger or whatever you're feeling from that takedown you gave up to just get it back. Like, get 2 more next time. Like, if he takes you down, get 2 more. And that's something I never really, like, I was like, shut up, Dad. I should never get scored on, right? And that was kind of like, that's how I thought. That's how my mind worked. And it's kind of funny because now I'm hearing the same things in college, where if a guy scores on me in practice, the practice was lost when I was a freshman. And it's like, no, Spencer, what'd you do good today? How did you get better? How can you move on? What's next? And I think that was something that I was preaching when I was young, and it kind of came more into fruition as I got into college, as in the what's next. That's why you hear that a lot, because you can take it now. What's next? You're on your feet. You're fighting hands. Get out. Right? Freestyle, fighting. Get back on your feet. Get that next takedown. And I think that was really, really good advice for someone who's young and kind of, I don't know, had a crazy mindset and needed to learn more beneficial mindset.
Where do you think you got that from? Just something you're born with? Just that being a perfectionist?
I mean, I think some people are born that way. I think I was, because I was always super competitive when I was little, and I had to do everything right. But I don't know. It's tough, because being a perfectionist is what makes you who you are, and a competitor is what makes you who you are. So you have to, like, balance it. You can't take it all away. I can't be like, oh, I get takedowns, whatever. You still have to be upset a little bit, right? But you just got to learn how to move on faster and improve. So.
Well, it's been a while. Looking forward to watching you compete on November 1st. Zach Sanders, 4-time All-American, former golfer. Thoughts on that matchup? What are you most looking forward to getting a singlet on and getting on a mat?
I'm just looking forward to compete. It's been since, February, March, kind of around there. And I was hoping to compete in, other events as well, but everything's been kind of canceled. So I'm just excited to get in a singlet and, represent Hawkeye Nation and in an event that, Hawkeye Wrestling Club's putting on. So pretty exciting.
These last 6-7 months during this whole pandemic, a thing or two that you've really improved on, maybe even off the mat?
I've been running a lot more. I prefer wrestling to any other cardio. So when my teammates would go like 2 days in a row off the mat, 2 days in a row, kind of like was like off season kind of thing, I would probably wrestle like 5 to 7 days. And then the other 2 days would be like, sometimes 6 even. I mean, when I was a freshman, I never, like, there are days where like they'll let you go off the mat and like do your own thing, run, lift. I always wrestled every single time out. So I think it's good to like open up your horizons. I used to be a really bad runner on the team. I used to be like top 15 on the team runs. Now I'm like top 4, top 3, and I'm like running pretty fast for my own pace.
Sure,
I run,
sure.
Yeah, like 6-minute pace for like 3.5 miles. I still don't beat like the Austin or all the other guys are fast, but I'm proud of like that I can keep that pace, and that's helped my cardio out, my preseason cardio as well.
Is he the fastest guy in the team, DeSanto?
He is this year. We had some really fast guys my first 3 years.
Who's the fastest guy that you've seen?
Daniel Murphy was his name. He's going to Buds now. He's gonna be a SEAL.
No kidding.
He was nuts. He won every run. Anything that wasn't wrestling, he won.
Really?
Yeah, because he was always kind of hurt. After his like first 2 years, he kind of just focused on himself and getting ready for like SEALs and stuff. So he was really good for like mindset, helped like guys like me and Austin and everyone else. He was the man, and he won every run by a long shot.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's fast.
Good stuff. Well, we talked a little bit about your parents. Obviously, got to have a good support system, coaches along the way. How old were you when you started going to Young Guns? And speak to the influence, if you could, that Jody Strip Matters had on your wrestling.
I think I was 11 years old when I started going. Jody and John were the two main coaches at Young Guns. They swapped locations, and those two they did a lot for me when I was young. They were so selfless. Like they're the most selfless people I've ever met. They just, whatever you needed when I was younger, they were there for me. And I mean, my dad's super thankful. I mean, if you asked him, he'd be more than, thankful is not even a word to describe it. They just went out of their way. There was, to make you better and make you a better person. And that was the best thing about the club was after every practice, he would sit everyone down. He would talk about like what you should be doing outside the wrestling to get better as a person, as a wrestler, as a whatever, right? And he did that every practice. He would like, not like preach, but like he would like make sure everyone knew that like wrestling was not the only thing in your life. It should maybe it should be the most important. Depends on who you are, what you're, he always said religion or school, wrestling, in whatever order that is for you. He just made sure that you knew that you could be better, you can be a good person and still be a stud on the mat. And I think that was really cool.
You look at Young Guns, one of the best clubs in the country. Who were the guys that were there when you were coming up through the ranks?
Oh, God, I need a poster of names.
Just studs everywhere.
Oh, when I was a freshman in high school, we had like Nolf and Gulabon, just names upon names upon names. And I don't know. What was it? If you went through that class, we probably had like 50 to 60 All-Americans maybe, and probably like 15 to 20 national champs, maybe, or not 15 national champs, but like probably like 7 to 10 maybe. We had a lot.
What guys were you closest with in that group?
Teasdale was a friend, he was my main training partner. Devin Brown was my best friend growing up. and he's my teammate as well, Frank Regional. Then you have my teammates from Frank Regional, like Kemmer and Shields and Maruka and all those guys, Tyler Smith. Like those are like my teammates. And all these guys went Division I, West Virginia, Arizona State, Iowa, and I mean, those are like the guys I hung out with. I never really like hung out with guys at Young Guns. They were kind of just like my teammates.
Okay.
But they all lived in other places, went to other school districts, and were competitors to our school. So it's kind of fun to like see those guys to be like your competitor on the mat, but like off the mat, you could always hang out with them at the state tournament or your regional tournament, whatnot, big national tournaments. It's cool. I mean, it was a really cool group of guys.
When did you first become aware of Iowa Hawkeye Wrestling?
I mean, probably when I joined Young Guns, honestly. When I was younger, I didn't really care about college wrestling. I only cared about Olympic wrestling. So I always had these books, and I'd always look up the names of all the Olympic champs and all. It didn't matter what style, Greco, freestyle. And I knew all their names, what the years were and all that. That was like I loved it. That was what I cared about. So I didn't really care. I didn't even know college was a thing until, Jody was obviously a Hawkeye, so he's a big Hawkeye fan. When we would be at his house for like some kind of camp or something and stay the night. We were like really young, bunch of kids. We'd all be in his basement. We'd be watching Iowa wrestling or something. And it was funny because he was so passionate about it. He'd show us matches of like Ironside. And, I don't know. I mean, there's tons of names I could name, McElravy and Jurgens and just guys that were like hard-nosed, fight, explosive, strong, just guys that ran people off the mat. Tom and Terry. We watched a lot of Tom and Terry when they were in college. And that's kind of how you fell in love with that style of like wrestling, like how they were like back in the Gable era and whatnot, and just like that older, like that was his generation. That was Jody's. That's like what he was like right after Gable retired. 2000, 2001. Gable was like 97.
Yeah.
So he just missed out on being coached by Coach Gable. So he had like, and he would show us that. And that's kind of where I found it. And then I was a Penn State and Iowa fan my whole life. Those are my two schools that I always watched because I was a PA boy.
Sure.
PA, grew up, all my friends were Penn State fans. My teachers were Penn State fans. Friends were Penn State fans. So I was as well. So it was Penn State and Iowa. So
you go to a lot of Penn State matches growing up?
Yeah, I did. I mean, only in high school when I was getting recruited. I never went before then because I told you I didn't really care. I only cared about the Olympics. That was the only thing I cared about. Like NCAA to me when I was younger, like didn't mean anything to me. Like Terry would always get mad at me when he was recruiting me because NCAA titles are a big deal. He'd always tell me, and I'd be like, they come if they come, right? And he'd get really upset because he'd be like, this is the next best thing. I keep preaching this is the biggest thing because it's the next thing, right? And that wasn't how I thought until I got to college and realized that it is a big deal and NCAA title does mean something, and it is a great accolade, and it is really hard to win too. So,
who were your favorite college wrestlers when you were in high school?
I mean, I only watched guys I really knew. So like Mika Megaludis and that like group of guys. Logan Stever was probably my favorite just because I knew him personally.
Okay.
I used to train in Ohio at a club called Burnett Train Wrestling Club before I went to Young Guns. And he trained there. Like Thomas Sell trained there. Like a bunch of Hunter Stever, Logan Stever. I mean, there's a bunch of really tough guys that train there. And so like I was a big fan of Logan because the way he wrestled too. Hard nose. He's a tilter on top, turn guys. He's a 4-timer.
Yeah.
He's a world champion. He was a stud. So,
what was your mindset, Spencer? Because I don't know any of this. What was your mindset coming out of high school on the recruiting side of things?
In what way?
Like how many did you go to? Was it always Penn State or Iowa?
I visited 3 schools.
What? You just went Penn State and Iowa. That was it.
No, I visited 3 schools. I visited Iowa, Penn State, and Ohio State. Those are my 3 visits.
What ultimately was it with the Hawkeyes when you knew that Iowa City was the place? And how tough? I mean, how tough a decision is that?
I mean, it was a really hard decision because obviously I'm from Pennsylvania. My friends are from Pennsylvania. I was closer with the Penn State guys at the time just because I knew them. And, Ohio State was close to. They had good guys, good coaching staff, good team. So, I mean, it was tough to, like, move all the way out to Iowa. But when I got here, I realized this was the place for me. The coaches, they knew it was best for me. The fans are incredible. I mean, it still blows my mind to this day, walking around places and getting recognized or stuff. Like,
Yeah, you're a rock star in Iowa City.
Well, I wouldn't say rock star, but it is kind of cool. And like, you're getting groceries at a store, and the guy's like, "Hey, what do you need, Spence?" I'm like, "Never showed you my name or anything, you know," but which is cool. So I mean, this place is awesome, and I fell in love with it. I like the campus. I like the university. And obviously, the team environment was what I was looking forward to being a part of.
When you came to Iowa City, were you thinking, "Hey, I want to win 4 national titles, be undefeated"? I mean, did you have those kind of goals?
Yeah, no, that was my goal, was to be a 4-time undefeated national champ, because I always want to shoot for as high as you can, right? And obviously, I didn't do that. I lost a bunch of matches in college, so maybe I can still win 4 though, right?
Sure. Well, exactly. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. You lost to Ronnie Bresser at the Midlands. Was that your first loss?
Yes.
And then you wrestled Tomasello with the Big Tens.
And I lost there as well.
You lost to him. So what, at that time, what do those losses do to you? You don't lose a lot.
I think the first loss made me want a red shirt.
Okay. Yeah, because that's right.
Then I could be undefeated still.
Red shirt.
Well, and that match was tough because we couldn't challenge anything either, because I was still a red shirt. And there was like, I mean, I'm not saying I would have won the match or whatnot, but it was just kind of, so that kind of stunk. And now it's a rule that red shirts can challenge. So, I mean, you know, good on the NCAA for doing that. But then I lost to Tomasello, because in my head I was like, oh, that first loss, you know, that was my fault. I could have changed it, and then I lost again, and I was like, oh, that's rough. 2 losses already, but it didn't matter because NCAA tournament was what was next, and I had to win that. So.
And you went on a great run to win that national title. You beat Suriano to win that first one, correct? When you think back to that run, Spencer, you know, what really stands out on finding another gear and really rolling your way to a title?
Well, I think it's crazy that I went tech pin, I think, going to the finals as a true freshman. And my bracket wasn't exactly, you know, weak. I mean, I think there was 4 national champs in that bracket. I mean, obviously not, but some people will make arguments and whatnot. But I think that was one of the tougher brackets I've seen at 25 for a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying it was, but
Spencer, I'll argue on your behalf on this. When you win a match in Division I, these guys are all really, really good.
Yeah, I agree, for sure.
It's like a baseball pitcher in the major. You know, it's like a Major League Baseball. Take the guy on the bench that's hitting $175, throw a fastball down the middle and see what happens. You'll get destroyed. I mean, I will never, ever downplay. I don't care who you have to beat. It's tough to do.
I agree. I just saying that I think that it was like the bracket was pretty good. I think there was 4 national champs in it. It was like me, Cruz, Suriano, and Tomasello. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That was the semis too.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
Cruz, Suriano, Tomasello, me. So that was cool. And then I dominated it, which is, I mean, it was, I'm not saying that I expected that, but it was like, I just went out to wrestle and it ended up happening. So that was really cool.
Your sophomore year, you win another national title, and along the way, you had a few losses, which,
yeah.
And I think you and I have even talked about this a little bit. I just remember, you know, you look at the message board, social media, it's not like you got beat by some guy they got off the streets. I mean, you're losing to really, really good guys. You wrestle a Big Ten schedule. It's tough. I mean, there's going to be some ups and downs in the journey to ultimately get to your goal. What did you learn about, you know, yourself during a time where maybe, according to your standards anyways, maybe somewhat of a struggle?
I mean, I just knew that I could wrestle through anything after that season. So I was pretty confident in myself and my abilities for the next one as well.
You feel some pressure at different times? I mean, you had to have.
I mean, pressure is, it's whatever. I mean, it's what you got to deal with when you're a high-level athlete, I think. And I think I always say, you know, the bigger the stage, the better the wrestler, you know, he shows up. And that's what I always told my teammates too. Big wrestlers show up for big-time matches, and that's how it is. I think the bigger the stage, the better I wrestle. What
are a couple of things that we spoke about this a little while ago, just that people just don't understand? I mean, how difficult it is to win at this level. You just don't roll out of bed and go win national titles. It is extremely difficult. How would you, if you had to try to put that in perspective, the level of difficulty to win?
I mean, it's like anything at a elite level of anything. It doesn't really just have to be sports, right? But I mean, what is it? 3% of high school wrestlers get a college Division I scholarship, and then it's
1%. I think
is
it's
it
1%.
I don't know, but it's low.
Russell Division I.
It's low. And then it's like someone did the math on like Twitter or something. I saw it. It was like point something % are all Americans, and then even point lower are national champs. And put it in perspective of how many people, like the group of, that are trying to do it, and then the only 10 a year, right, for the NCAA. And that's what makes, and then Olympics is only 6 every 4 years, which is even crazier. And so that level, to win at that level, it takes great effort, dedication, and support network behind you, and then maybe some, I don't know, luck or whatnot. And you take what you can at this level. So
the mind is a crazy thing. I remember Jordan Burroughs, I believe it was when he won his title in Paris, 2017, I believe that was. Before he was, he got done with the match, and he was speaking to us in the mix zone, and somebody asked him about his thoughts before the match, and he goes, "I was scared to death." He goes, and I remember just sitting there like, I just kind of admired that. It's like, just being honest. I saw or heard something recently with Thomas Gilman saying the most confident guys, and I always thought Gilman was pretty confident, but he even said even the most confident guys, they got some self-doubt. He goes, "I don't care who it is." Mm-hmm. How do you battle as good as you are? I mean, everybody's got the doubt that creeps into their mind. How do you battle, and how have you learned to deal with self-doubt as good as you are?
Well, you just have to relax and think, you trained as hard as you could for this. You have no regrets. So whatever happens, just let it fly, and make sure you don't have any regrets at the mat. That's the worst way to lose. When you walk off the mat, like I remember feeling that my freshman year at Big Tens after losing. I kind of walked off the mat. I wasn't even breathing hard, and I looked at Tom and was like, "What was I doing? I didn't even try. I just lost." And I have regrets, and that's like the worst feeling ever, is to be like, I didn't do what I could to win the match. So if you go out there and just go as hard as you can and let it fly and you lose, you really can't really be that upset, because that's the best that you can do. But
of your handful of losses, Spencer, is that the one that frustrates you the most?
I think that's the one that I learned the most from.
Okay.
Just because it's like, even if my losses, if you go out there and, you give it your all and you lose, that's the end of the day, that's it. But if you go out there and you walk off the mat thinking I could have done this or that or this or that, I think that's the worst way to lose, in my opinion.
I remember last year we were doing the broadcast with you guys in Oklahoma State. You're wrestling Piccinini. Of course, he got you the year previous in Stillwater. And I remember they had the camera on you, and you were over by the tunnel, just sitting on a chair. What are you thinking about before before that match in particular? Do you think different things every match, or is it pretty consistent across the board regardless of who you're wrestling?
It's probably pretty consistent. Just when it's time, when that whistle blows, that's when you start wrestling. Don't waste any unnecessary energy on thoughts or nervousness. Just use the nervousness as a positive, and this is what you live for. This is what you were made to do, and go out and do it. Do what you love. So
that season you had last year, this is maybe a little bit before your time, but Tecmo Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
like the greatest video game ever. Bo Jackson was unstoppable. Lawrence Taylor was unstoppable.
Giants, yeah.
Yeah, yep. Number 56 coming off the end. When I think of the season you had last year, that's what I think about. Crazy video game stats. And I would also say this. If there was ever a time in a broadcast that I could have gotten away dropping an F-bomb, that would have been it. I would have said, Spencer Lee, here's what he's done, and this is effing unbelievable. And if anybody ever said, like, you can't say that, I'd be like, all right, you tell me how you want me to describe it, where I can give it some kind of just perspective. How did you do that last year? Every week you were just mauling guys.
Just what's next? Next best thing. I mean, I know it's repetitive and annoying, but that's how you got to treat every opponent. You can't overlook anyone. You can't think of that. This is this guy. This is his record. This is that. I know I've known people that do that, but I don't care who it is, because in the middle of that mat, it's 0-0 and that whistle blows. Doesn't matter what he's done. You just got to go out and score points and wrestle until the whistle stops, for whether it's a tech, pin, match over, period. Just don't stop wrestling. So
you hear about like baseball players when they're in the zone, ball looks like a beach ball. You hear other athletes in the zone talking about how things really slow down. I mean, safe to say you were in the zone last season. Expand on that a little bit. Does the match slow down? I mean, what's it like to be in the zone on a wrestling mat?
I think that in my opinion, if you're like aware and like can hear everything and like have your own thoughts, I think you're not focused. I think you're kind of out of it. To me, it's like I don't even remember some of the stuff that I do. Like I have a good like memory with like how I wrestle and what I did, but sometimes I'm like, how did I get there, Terry? Like, how did that begin? I know how I finished it and how it ended and why it happened, but how did I get there? Because I'm so focused, and the only person that I can hear in the middle of the mat is usually Terry. Like, even in Carver, like, if I'm hearing the crowd in Carver, I'm probably not focused enough, and I'm not into the, maybe I didn't warm up right or something, It's super interesting to think of, like, as in a mental routine perspective, right? So.
That's good stuff. When it comes to Terry, I mean, he's obviously, he's kind of your guy. Would you be able to share with us the most impactful conversation that you and him have had, where there was just a moment, 50 years down the road, you'll always remember, I remember that conversation and it led me to a different level?
That's a tough question, because we've had a lot of conversations like that I remember. It's mostly just him with positive reinforcement and making sure that I know that no matter what, I'm the best wrestler in the world, and to believe that and to go out and, I mean, I don't remember a specific instance that really stood out, because it's pretty much almost every week that he kind of, motivates me to an extent, right? To make sure to know that what my goal is and why I'm here. Like, what are you doing this for? Sometimes he'll ask me, and I don't have to answer. It's kind of like a rhetorical question. You just kind of walk away and it gets you thinking, like, why am I doing this? It's because I love it. It's because this is what I live for, And that's kind of like a good way to describe me and his relationship. Very, very like, kind of look at each other and like thumbs up, like, salute, whatever. That's all we need to say. So.
What is it, what's something about Tom and Terry that you don't think they get enough credit for?
I mean, just how selfless they are. I mean, they'll do anything for anyone on that team, and how much of an impact they have on all the kids' lives on the team, every one of them, for the better. And I think that most people just see the competitor of those two in the corner. They don't see everything that they've done. I mean, it's hard. How can you see everything that they've done if you're not in the program? But I mean, the impact you've had on my life is, astronomical versus, everyone else as well. So
when you look at the success that you've had, again, it doesn't come easy. I mean, we're all under attack. I mean, we're getting attacked all over the place. What do you feel, Spencer? Because you're vulnerable too. I mean, you can get beat. I mean, it's a wrestling match. Anything can happen. Anything can happen inside that circle. You're always in danger, so to say. But what would you say is the biggest threat to excellence in your life?
Complacency. Just being complacent with where you're at, what you're doing, how your career's going. I think if you're never trying to improve every single day and break through a different ceiling, a different, then what are you doing? Why are you doing it? So I just think that's the biggest reason for me.
Unfortunately, last season, the pandemic comes, tournament is canceled. And at that time, it's like, man, Spencer Lee and the tradition-rich program of Iowa Hawkeye Wrestling can't be a four-timer. which, and I'm sure you're thinking the same thing. You got to win 3 before you can win 4. It's not like, oh, you just automatically win a couple more. It's a no-brainer. It doesn't work like that. But now NCAA comes out and adjusts some rules, so you'll get this year and next year. So you will still have a chance to, get a couple more cracks at it. When you heard that news, I'm sure you were pretty excited.
I mean, that was the goal. Win 3 and then try and get a 4th year. And so luckily they just gave it to me and gave me the opportunity. I mean,
sure.
And here I am. I mean, I was training for 3 no matter what. That's the goal. And after 3, we'll focus on 4. So that's it. That's the end of it. I mean, they announced it on my birthday, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
So was like a birthday present, I guess.
So what are you now, 22, 23?
I'm 22.
22. There you go.
Getting
Just
old.
Get started. Does it bother you at all? This is you can look at it a number of different ways. I haven't thought about it enough. I'm glad you guys get the opportunity, but from like a historical perspective, I'm a big numbers guy. I love analytics. Yanni can win 5. Makai Lewis can win 5. It kind of like, any way you slice it, I just feel bad that you can't achieve like that ultimate, you should be right at the top. But if somebody can win 5, it's maybe a little bit different. You think about that at all? Or is that
what can you do?
Yeah.
They Olympic redshirted and I didn't. So I guess they get the benefits of not missing a season and an extra year.
Sure.
So I guess that's how that works.
It is what it is.
Yeah, what can you do about it?
Where do you see yourself, Spencer, after your days competing? You want to coach? I know you talked about maybe being an athletic director. I know I heard that someplace.
Yeah, I think I want to try coaching out. I think that's my passion after competition, and then we'll see what happens after that. Maybe I move into administration one day. So I'll get my master's next year and see how that goes.
You look at the administration side of things with Division I wrestling. It's been a little bit rough with these Division I programs dropping. Have you given any thought to, if you had the magic wand, any ideas, thoughts that you have on how to not only sustain wrestling, but grow it?
I think that's a hard question because if all these guys have doctorates and masters and have been in for years and years and years, right? And they obviously haven't found a solution. So I'm not saying I have any idea, but there are things we could do. I don't see why not. Maybe adding women's wrestling might help for Title IX compliance. I have no idea. I've never looked at it. My dad would be better for that. He did a whole paper research thing in college or in his master's program on Title IX, so he knows all about it. But I think that'd be good for our sport, first of all, because it's hard not having Division I wrestling for women, but also it would help, I think, men's wrestling for not getting dropped from schools. I know money might be an issue, but I don't really know how to fix that.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. Want to end this with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Most memorable win for you at Carver?
Probably my first.
And that was Tomasello, correct?
No, my first one was against Michigan State.
Okay, that's right. Quick pin. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's right. I remember.
It wasn't even the match or anything. It was just going into Carver for the first time in a singlet. I was so nervous. Just because it's Carver.
Sure.
It wasn't packed. It didn't have 15,000 fans in it, like Penn State Duel maybe, but just, breathing the air in a singlet, see my teammates, slap you in the hand or the butt or whatever and get going. So that was cool.
You got to take a cross-country trip. It's you in a car with 3 other guys from LA to New York City. What three people are you going to take?
Austin DeSanto, Tony Cassiope, and Kate Brownlee.
Okay.
My three boys.
What's your biggest passion away from wrestling?
There's a lot of things that I really like doing, but sometimes I don't have the time to do it. Obviously I'm a gamer. I'm wearing a gaming headset and gaming chair, right? But I think my biggest passion growing up was archery. Besides wrestling, all I did was shoot my longbow, my recurve. And right now I'm carving my own bow out of wood. It's out of Black Locust, if anyone cares.
No kidding.
Yeah, so me and my buddy Sam, he's helped me. Sam Coates' his name. He's helped me carve a bow out of Black Locust wood. We'll make our own arrows, our own quivers, our own fletchings for the arrows. I mean, everything we make from what you kill maybe in the wild. I've never really killed anything in the wild, just because I'm always been a target shooter. It's kind of been the only thing I care about is accuracy and reloading fast, I guess. So that was like my passion. I can't wait to like make my own arrows and stuff like that. I think that'd
I'd
really
be
cool.
interested to see that when I come to Iowa City.
Yeah.
Let me know. That's pretty cool.
Hopefully it'll be done before December because it's getting cold.
Okay.
Carving a bow outside is getting kind of cold.
Who's your favorite athlete growing up?
Oh, that's a tough question for me. I mean,
were you like Steelers, being in Pennsylvania, Steelers fan, Pirates fan?
No, I never cared about sports like that. Honestly, my favorite athlete was Tim Tebow.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Awesome.
If you could meet anybody dead or alive, Spencer.
No, not Tim Tebow. I'm sorry, it's John Elway.
So Elway was your favorite?
Yes.
Okay. Elway was
I'm not Tim Tebow. I was thinking of Broncos. See, I don't really even know anymore.
Oh, that's all right.
Because I had his jerseys. I had his helmets.
Number 7.
Number 7, yep.
Yeah, yep, number 7.
I couldn't think of his name for a second because I'm not smart, I guess. But it was all I cared about was him, who was a Dolphins quarterback back then.
Marino. Dan Marino?
Dan Marino. And there was one more.
Man, you're going old school.
49ers. Yes, 49ers.
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
Steve Young.
Yeah, Jerry Rice, those guys. So that's because of Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
My dad, me and him would play Tecmo Bowl every day growing up. So when you were saying those names, I was like, I used to play the Raiders and run outside with Bo Jackson.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I mean, this stuff is – I was afraid, Spencer. I'm like, man, if I say Bo Jackson, Lawrence Taylor, he might just stare at me.
Lawrence Taylor was one of my favorite. I have like a jersey card that my parents still have.
Man, that's good stuff. He was a bad dude.
It's because of Tecmo Bowl.
And the thing with Lawrence Taylor is he had the best face mask ever. I mean, it was just this awesome cage. And
he was the one that blocked the field goal, right? And they won or something. I can't remember. Was that him?
Man, the thing with Lawrence Taylor was one of his big moments was he snapped Joe Theismann's leg on Monday Night Football.
He was the one that. Yeah.
He's just a stud. I mean, just unstoppable. Lawrence Taylor was unstoppable. But
it's pretty funny. Sorry, I had to go back in my archives in my brain.
That's awesome.
To think about that stuff. That's what that's what I got for Christmas. I remember when I was like 8 or 7 or something. It was those 3 jerseys. Those 3.
That's great. That's awesome. Who's if you could meet anybody dead or alive, spend the day with them, who would you pick?
I have no idea, honestly.
Okay, I'll get you on that one next time.
I have no idea.
You got a favorite movie all time?
Probably not. But I've some movies I like. I don't know if like The Warrior, like the fighting movie with 2 brothers.
Sure.
Good one.
Okay.
I like The Last Samurai. Something like that. I don't know.
All right.
Weird taste.
How about? I mean, you seen Braveheart?
Yeah, Braveheart's a great one.
You'd like that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay. What's your go-to hype song? You got a song that gets you going?
Nope.
Well, Back in Black has got. I mean, I'm sure Back in Black, whether you like it or not, that one does the job.
Yeah, before they go into Carver. Yeah,
that's the best. AC/DC's great. What's your biggest pet peeve? Like, what's something that just drives you nuts?
That's a tough question because it's broad.
Okay.
About specific something, I don't know.
You like, I mean, people that are messy that drive you nuts or not really?
No.
I
don't really, people, they do what they do and I don't judge.
Okay. I'll ask you this next one, couple more. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? You got one thing to change.
I wish I could speak French like I should have grown up.
Okay.
I guess I've always wished I could speak with my family in France. I guess I could learn still, but.
So you have family over in France?
Yeah, my mother's was born and raised in France, and
Really?
my parents met in France. And, yep.
Good to know. Did not know that. You
Yep.
you been there?
Oh yeah, like 11 times.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Man,
been a while since I've been there though. Last time I was there was for wrestling actually. So
that's right, because you went.
Junior Worlds, yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say I was thinking like World Championships. I know you went with Dan Dennis to Rio.
Yeah.
And the Worlds were there a couple years ago. That's when I went there. It's one of the coolest cities I've ever been to.
I love Paris. It's
Awesome
big though.
place. Awesome place. Last question I got for you, Spencer. Appreciate you doing this today. It's been a lot of fun. I'm giving you a crystal ball.
Oh gosh.
You get to look ahead 15 years in this crystal ball. What's one or two things that you are especially intrigued to see play out?
Kids.
Okay.
And then where I'm at, what am I doing? Am I coaching? Am I an administrator? Am I doing something else entirely? Am I living in another country? Like, that's probably the two things.
Well, this has been a ton of fun. And, I've learned a lot about you today. And when I go into these interviews, my goal is always to learn a few things that I had no idea. So I learned a few things about you today. Super appreciative of the time and looking forward to watching you back on the mat November 1st. We'll have it right here on Track Wrestling. So again, Spencer, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Shane.